Okay, welcome to this first video in the series that I've put together to help you with the design project that I've put together for my GCSE classes. Now, this series of videos is going to sort of help you on a step-by-step basis of what you need to do to get your designs ready for your coursework. So if you're in year 9 currently, this project is designed as a practice to help you understand exactly what is required of you when it comes to your coursework through your main GCSE. If you're in year 10, this project is a little bit more important because the work that you're actually going to do through this little project I put together is actually going to go towards your final GCSE grade. So the work that you're going to do year 10, this is actually going to be used in your real coursework, which will start whenever we get back to school. But obviously I wanted to get a head start on it for you because I feel that we might run out of time if we don't. So for year 10, this is a super important series of lessons. This particular video is split up into 5 sections. First, obviously the intro, which you've already seen. The second section will be a do's and don'ts of sketching. The third section is a practice task that I've put together for you. Then it will move on to the main task, the actual body of the sketching, the work you're actually going to do for your real GCSE. And then once we've done that, we'll have a little summary and a what to expect for next lesson, from the next video. Okay, so let's get into the second section, which is the do's and don'ts of sketching. Now I'm just going to use a square. Square's nice and easy to do to show you and understand about how we sketch. So when I ask lots of students to sketch me or draw me a square, they'll do it with what I call a single point of contact. So what that means is, get my pencil, all I'm going to do is draw a square for a single point of contact. So I'm going to put the pencil down and draw a square. As you can see, I'm not an artist. As you can see, just a sketching a square. Now I did that with a single point of contact. So as soon as my pencil touched the paper, I never lifted it to draw the square. Now this is actually the wrong thing to do, and that's what most people will do. Now lots of people will have what's called a double point of contact when I see them draw a square. So that means they'll put their pencil on, they go down and across, and a lot of the times they take the pencil off, as you can see, put it back on, and they'll then across and down, and they get a square as well. Okay, or something that looks like a square. Again, this is the wrong thing to do. Now, as a rule of thumb, when we're sketching, most of our sketching will be straight lines. We'll put curves in later on, but most of the time when you're sketching, so the rule of thumb will be however many sides the shape has. So for example, it's a square, we know it has 4 sides. We have to have what's known as 4 points of contact. So I'm actually just going to draw 4 straight lines. Now with this, and we'll talk about this in the next section, which is the practice section, I tend to move the paper a lot because I like to draw a straight line on a slight upward angle, as you can see here. So rather than struggling and moving my body around, I actually just move the paper. So when you sketch, as I said, you want, with whatever shape it is, it's a square, 4 points of contact, 4 straight lines. So I'm just going to move my paper slightly, and I'm going to do my first one, so I get the angle I like, sketch a straight line, and I'm going to move the paper again, second point of contact, straight line, move the paper again, next line, move the paper again, next line. Now if you can pick that up from the video, you can see the lines don't perfectly match. This is not an art lesson, okay? I'm not expecting absolutely perfect. You don't have to get your right angles out and check that everything's exactly 90 degrees. It's, as I say, it's not an art lesson. That's not what this is about at all. It's just about sketching so the examiner can see your idea process, and the sketching is the roughest level of drawing which we do in design and technology, so it's really good to see a rough drawing. Okay, so I'm not expecting you to use a ruler. As you can see, I've got a pencil and a piece of paper. That's all I need. So again, 4 points of contact. If I was going to do a triangle, for example, you know, it has 3 point lines, so 3 points of contact. So I'm going to start again moving my paper. I'll do the flat base. There's the first point of contact, set myself up, second point of contact, set myself up, third point of contact. Again, you can see it doesn't join perfectly. I've also got this little cross that's happened towards the top. Again, that's absolutely fine. That will take us nicely on to the next section, which is a practice task that I've put together for us. All right, so within this whole sketching project, we're not actually going to be designing a product in particular. So for example, I'm never going to say to you, today we're going to do lamps, today we're going to do I don't know, bedside tables, speakers. We're not actually designing or drawing a product, we are just actually designing with shapes, because once you've got a good shape in mind, you can always turn that into any product you like. For example, if I was to take my squares that I've just done in the previous section, if I was just to put a couple of circles on that square afterwards, I could say that's a speaker, or I could add a few lines and add some drawers and say there you go, it's a chest of drawers. So we're never going to be designing a product in this little section that we're doing. We're only going to be designing shapes ready to turn into products later on. So in this practice task, what I've done, you don't have to do this, but I've done it just to show you, I've actually printed off Google, I just typed in 2D geometric shapes, got this image, and I printed it off, and you can see there's lots of nice 2D shapes to choose from. And all I'm going to do in this practice section is I'm going to pick 2, 3, 4, 5, however many you feel confident with, but I want you basically to pick a few and just practice drawing them with those points of contact which we talked about. So the first one I'm going to do, I've done a square, I'll just do a rectangle. I know it's very similar, but I'm just going to do one. So we know a rectangle's got 4 sides, so I'm just going to one line, move my paper, 2 not quite as high, I'll do the other one while I'm here, 3, and again across the top 4. Okay, you can see there's a practice rectangle. I'm going to choose another one, so now I'm going to choose a pentagon. So a pentagon has 5 sides, so I'm just going to have a go at going here. There's the base. I tend to always start with the base, I don't know why, it's just personal preference, but it doesn't matter where you want to start. And again here, up, and I'm going to go up on the same angle, and then they have to meet, so back in towards the middle, up and up. And you can see it's not perfect, but that's why we're practicing. If you do a pentagon and don't like it, you can always just get to another part of your page and practice it. And also it's really good to practice drawing in different sizes. No, I'm not drawing too small, but I'm not drawing so I can't fit more than one on a page. You can see that particular one is a little bit better. So that's the idea of practicing. I'll do one more, so I'm going to go for a octagon. So we know an octagon has 8 sides, so you should practice those 8 lines, 8 points of contact. And as I say, you'll never see me draw more than one line at a time. Okay, so I'll start with the base, go here, go to the diagonal, and note again, as I said, I'm always moving the page around to where I feel comfortable. Okay, it's all about practicing where you feel comfortable. So it's not perfect, but you can quite clearly see there's 8 sides there. What we need to do is just pause the video, get a piece of paper, pick 2, 3, 4, 5, however many shapes, you feel necessary, and just keep practicing drawing shapes, but remember only doing single lines. Don't try and draw the whole shape with that single point of contact. Note as well, I'm not pressing too hard. I'm not sort of, if I show you the difference here, if I draw another square in the corner, I'm not pushing down so it's breaking my pencil. Okay, you can clearly see there a difference in the shading. Okay, you can probably just about see these ones here, but when it comes to this one, you can see I press a lot harder. All that's going to happen is I'm going to blunt my pencil really quickly, which isn't going to then be helpful for the rest of my designing. Okay, so it's just nice lightly held pencils and nice light straight lines. Okay, even if you just want to practice drawing a straight line, you have to practice shapes on this page and just try and get a few lines parallel to each other. No matter where you do it, I can do it in any space, any angle I want to, and just practice putting some lines together, see if you can get them parallel just as a part of your practice. As I say, pause the video, give it a go, and then come back for the next section. That brings us nicely now onto the main body of work, which I will be marking obviously as a teacher, but also if you're in year 10, this is the exact work that is going to go into your coursework and that we're going to be sending off to the examiner. So it's really important we do this to the best of our ability and keep the work nice and neat, which we'll talk about later on in the next section. So to start with, like you've just practiced with shapes, you're going to pick one shape to start with. So again, I've used a square through the whole example, so I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to start with my initial shape down in this bottom left corner of my page. So to start with, as before, I'm just going to draw a square. Now I'm not going to draw it too small, nice size square. So again, notice I'm using those 4 points of contact for the square, like so. So there you go, nice and easy. Like before, I've sketched a nice square. Now, technically, that is a design idea. If you were going on in a few months' time to say, I am going to go and make a speaker, again, that is a design. It's a design idea, but sadly it's a very basic one. So what we now need to do is show the examiner and show me that you're able to take an idea, in this case my square, and you're going to develop that idea. And you can see this is what I've done before, so let's bring that one in. Here you go. So I started with my square as before, and I've developed that idea slightly here by putting a square on top of a square. Now I haven't just made it a boring rectangle, I've obviously put it to the side to give it some sort of shape. I've then developed that a little bit further because I quite like that idea, and I've then gone on to a third drawing on the same page, and I've gone and done 3 squares stacked up on top of each other like so. I've then taken that one step further and I've done a second page of designs using my initial shape as a square, and rather than just sort of altering the squares, I've now had a play with changing the sizes of the square. So you can see I've got normal square at the bottom, small square in the middle, square on the top, and on this one here I've done a big square and then slowly getting smaller as it goes up towards the top. Now in total, if I put those together, so let's fit that in the screen for us. Let me just try here. Let's get that way. Hopefully you can see all of those in shot. Yep. I've started with my square over here, nice and basic, and then has slowly gone on what we call a design journey, and it's gone through to here. Now that's not saying that this idea is the best one. If I was going to make one of these, I might decide later on down the line that this one here was my favourite, and that's not a problem. Okay, the examiner just wants to see that you've explored all different types of shapes and angles with that, developed that idea as time went on. Now what you're currently looking at, that is one fully completed, for this part, one design idea using one shape. What I would like you to do, as it says in Show My Homework, is you need to produce 5 of these using 5 different shapes. So your next one might be a triangle, your next shape then might be an octagon, whatever, so on and so on. But you need to produce 5 of something that looks like this. Now as a bare minimum, you don't need to necessarily do 5, you could just do 4 drawings. So that would be your bare minimum. Your maximum for one shape would be 6. So if you're a student looking for that level 7, 8 and 9, which hopefully lots of you are, you're going to want to do 6 drawings. You see I've done 5, so that's around about a level 5 or a 6 student. So all of you, regardless of what you think you could get, this is something that all of you could easily do to achieve a high level 7, 8 or 9 in your coursework in DT, just by simply doing 6 extension or developments of a product. So as I said, this is one fully completed for now, and I'll explain what that means in the next section. You need to, in this task, produce 5 looking like this. So 5 different shapes and a maximum of 6 in each. In this final section of this video, I just want to talk about 3 very quick things. Firstly, how to store your work. Secondly, how to submit your work, to actually send it to me so I can mark it and hopefully give you feedback. And lastly, what you're actually going to need for next week's video, so how you can prepare in time for that video. So as I said, firstly, talk about storing it. It's really, really important, okay, that especially the year 10, this is going off to the examiner. So what I don't want to see people doing is folding their work up. So just folding it up and thinking, oh, I'll put that away for next time. Because as soon as you open up a folded piece of work, you end up seeing those folds. And if I've got to send that to the examiner, it doesn't look great. Equally, storing it somewhere where it's going to get crumpled and going, oh, you know, that'll be fine, I'll send that off to the examiner, it doesn't look very professional. This is design and technology, okay? So the examiner is going to want to see how you are treating your work, and can you design something to look nice, neat and tidy. So it's really important you find a file or a folder and keep these safe, because you will need these next week. So when we do future lessons, we're not going to be drawing brand new things, we're actually going to be adding to these particular designs that you do. So it's really, really vital that you find somewhere nice and sort of neat in a folder, preferably, to store these. Please don't put any holes in them, so don't sort of hole punch and keep them in a folder. If you've got a plastic wallet, that'll be perfect. Also, I know some of you in the last week of term took home a plastic wallet folder type thing for you to store in. So please, please, please keep these looking nice and pristine, no folds, no creases, looking lovely. The second point was obviously to how to submit the work. You can do this in two ways. You can either take a photo of it and then email that to me. So obviously if you go onto the school website, onto your school emails, just type in M Hale. Please don't do K Hale, because that's Mrs. Hale. Make sure you do M Hale and send that work to me, and then I can then submit that on to Show My Homework for you and give you some feedback, hopefully. Or what's even easier is if you take a photo, you can upload that directly to Show My Homework and just click on where it says submit work, and then it will ping straight onto Show My Homework, and it will automatically say that you've then submitted something. So if it says, if you, for example, don't do that and just email it to me, you've got to wait for me to then see it, log on to Show My Homework and change it to say submitted. But if you submit it directly through Show My Homework, it will automatically say submitted for you, and then it will give me a message. I can go on to Show My Homework and see what you've done. Next week, for next lesson, to prepare for that, what you're going to need, as I've already said, you're going to need your designs, because we're going to be adding to those designs and adding to them and making them even better. So make sure you have your designs ready to go. It'll also be quite useful if you've got a plain piece of paper, again, just to do some practicing, because I'm going to show you another technique. So rather than practicing on your drawings, you might want a plain piece of paper to quickly do a very quick sketch, like a quick square, and then practice that technique. And the third thing, well, the next thing you're going to need, and the new thing really, again, pencil obviously, but you might want to try and find a black felt tip pen. So you don't need a fancy graphic design pen or anything like that, just sort of a bog standard children's felt tip pen. Make sure it's black. Okay, so it needs to be black, but if you can try and find one of those for next week, that'd be fantastic. Good luck with this, and I look forward to seeing all of the work that you produce.